Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, December 13th. Certainly pleased to have everybody here tonight. We'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Present.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzer.
Here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, councilors. In Sioux Falls, we start our council meetings with an invocation. And back with us again tonight is Pastor Eric McCandless, who is with Empire Baptist Temple here in Sioux Falls. Pastor, welcome back. Thank you. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the pastor's invocation, and then please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Eric.
Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you tonight for some of the things that we're commemorating here in this venue. We think of those men and women that make Sioux Falls a great place to live. And just recently, having experienced a tragedy just a few blocks from here, we recognize once again the extreme efforts of people that carve out a life and make a great place for those to follow behind them. And Lord, tonight I realize there's some recipients of some awards and things. I pray that you'd bless them, bless their families, bless their support group. Bless this council tonight as they deliberate different decisions that will affect and impact our future. Give them your wisdom and your guidance. And as always, Lord, we want to be careful to give you the thanks for all that you've done. We ask this in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. As the pastor had mentioned, it is a special night. We are going to recognize just a few of the great employees that we have with the City of Sioux Falls. These folks are extra special because of some of the work that they've done, representing all of you. There are over 1,300 city employees, and tonight we're going to recognize 5 of those over 1,300 employees that are really doing everything they can to make the city even better. And so, with that in mind, I'd like to start with our award for safety. And Brian, if I could have you come forward, and if you wouldn't mind, if there's someone else with Brian, would you mind coming up here as well, including whoever nominated? Please come forward. Thank you. Brian, come forward a little bit. Thank you. You know, as the pastor mentioned, there was a tragedy in our town, in downtown Sioux Falls, and I think that as that was unfolding, and we're still, dealing with the effects of that tragedy, I think the one thing that stood out very, very clear is just how we wanted all the folks there that day as safe as we could possibly make them. This is the Employee of the Year for Safety Award. And to receive that award is Brian Christiansen. And I'm just going to read a couple things about Brian. But before I do, can I ask you a favor? Could you introduce who these great folks are, please?
This is my wife, Trista, my daughter, Joya, my son, Sam, and my other son, AJ.
Thank you. Welcome. Captain Brian Christiansen of Sioux Falls Fire and Rescue is the winner. He is a selfless leader who has devoted his career to keeping his teammates, adjacent city department employees, and the citizens of Sioux Falls safe. This past April, Brian played an integral role of the successful involvement with the 2016 Illinois Fire Service Institute Research Project, Cardiovascular and Carcinogenic Risks in the Fire Service. The research project is a monumental $1.3 million project funded by the Federal Assistance to Firefighters grants. 34 firefighters from across the nation were invited to participate. One of our very own, Brian, is one of those 34. And he was part of a 4-person team that was tasked with completing 3 separate live fire evolutions. His direct involvement has led to the comprehensive data collection for numerous scientists from Underwriters Laboratory, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, Skidmore College, Harvard Research, and the Illinois Fire Institute. This data will be studied and compiled for the next white paper that will reveal findings and without a doubt will have positive outcomes for fire service personnel regarding personal protective equipment, live fire training tactics, and strategies in several other health safety areas. And that's just not here in Sioux Falls. That's across our country. Brian is an exceptional fire officer instructor. He spearheaded the instruction of more than 250 fire and police personnel in advanced trauma care strategies and tactics, and was instrumental in rewriting current curriculum to meet the needs of the 21st century firefighter. This instruction directly impacts the health and safety of those participants, their teammates, and the citizens of Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, if there was ever a time where safety was at its highest focus, it's right now. And the winner of the Sioux Falls Employee of the Year for Safety is this man, this fire, our employee, Brian Christiansen. And that's your dad. Thank you. We have an award as well as we also have some cash, and it's $500 that will go to these award winners. So again, thank you for your service. Thanks for all you do, and to the family as well. Thanks for your sacrifice. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for I'm not going to have these folks come up just yet. First, I want to explain this is the V.L. Crusenberry Award, and it's established in memory of former Mayor V.L. Crusenberry. It recognizes and honors annually a non-management employee. These are the folks that are on the front line who demonstrate exceptional performance, judgment, productivity, loyalty, professional pride, and other noteworthy accomplishments in relation to city employment. This year, we are going to recognize 2 city employees. First, I'd love to bring up Terry Adams, our engineering technician, and Terry, you've got some guests. Please come forward. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for being here. You bet. Terry, would you mind introducing these fine people, please?
This is my wife, Michelle, my daughter, Lauren, and my new son-in-law, Casey.
Casey, you weren't expecting this, but thanks for doing it. I really appreciate it, and welcome to the family. Love it. Again, Terry Adams, his performance and attitude are key in the operation of the Public Works Light and Power Division. He is meticulous at every detail and is given 100% every day in his 22 years of service. He designs or reviews every streetlight installation in Sioux Falls. Now, folks, listen to this. Over his tenure, the city has grown from around 7,300 streetlights to now more than 19,000. So get ready. The division has not added a single staff member for more than 30 years. And a lot of this is because of Terry's work ethic and productivity. Terry is highly involved in the communications with citizens. He takes every call seriously and tries to find the best way to solve concerns. Terry will meet with citizen groups after hours, to discuss neighborhood lighting, then drive every block of the neighborhood with a citizen, a community development employee, and police officer. He then develops a project map and plan for lighting up the neighborhoods to provide a safer environment for everyone. There was more, but I think you get a good flavor for this man, Terry Adams, our engineering technician who's been here for a long, long time, making great things happen. Let's give him a round of applause, please. He also is going to receive $500. Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome. Our next winner of the VL Cruisenberry Award is Reynaldo Perez. Reynaldo, please come forward. Please come forward. Thank you. Reynaldo, welcome. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward. We'd love it. Thank you. Welcome. Love it. Reynaldo, would you please introduce these folks, please?
Sure. My wife, Yolanda. My American mom, Kathy. My American dad, Dale. And my daughter, Kayla. My daughter, Paige. And her two kids, my grandkids, Kobe and Serenity. And Kelly and Brad, very good friends.
Thank you. Camera, I hope you're getting all of them. There they are. Thank you for being here. Reynaldo Perez is a lead parking equipment service technician. He began his career with the city in 2001 as a parking meter technician. He was later promoted to lead parking equipment service technician 3 years later because of his can-do attitude and natural ability to problem solve. He currently oversees the maintenance of 4 parking ramps, 15 parking lots, the parking maintenance facility, and all the associated equipment. Reynaldo advised on the meter configuration and layout for the Main Avenue Road Diet, which just took place, while also increasing the deployment and implementation of additional credit card-enabled meters in 2016. Reynaldo led the department's effort on the chemistry inventory management system, properly organizing, cataloging, and storing all hazardous materials and chemicals. Under his initiative, his team took over tasks from contractors, providing a superior level of cleanliness and saving public parking $30,000 annually in contracted services. He has been an integral part of the public parking system for more than 15 years. He's dedicated to providing a high level of service to parking customers while ensuring facilities are safe. And Sioux Falls, I wish you could all meet this person. I wish you could. He comes in, he works incredibly hard. He's got one of the most positive attitudes I've ever had, the ability to engage. And I'm just proud of you, proud of your family. Thanks for your sacrifice. And guess what? You are a winner of the VL Cruisenberry Award. Let's give him a round of applause. Sioux Falls, this management gig is not easy. Leadership is really, really hard. It takes some very, very special people to do it. And then, of course, to be recognized amongst your peers as some of the best is even really, really even more special. We are going to recognize 2 of those of our management team. And this is the Gene Fullenkamp Management Excellence Award. And it is established in the memory of former Human Resources Manager Jan Fullenkamp. Recognizes and honors annually a high performer and leader in the mid-management employee group whose performance drives change, builds commitment, maximizes talent, and focuses on excellence in customer service. The first winner of the Fullenkamp Management Excellence Award is Assistant City Attorney Diane Best. Diane? Welcome. Thank you. Diane, please introduce.
I've got my husband, Harlan Best, with me.
Harlan, thank you. Diane is an effective leader and trusted legal advisor. Her expert legal experience has saved the city of Sioux Falls tens of millions of dollars. Diane's unique insight and experience with environmental law and regulations have been beneficial for her careful legal oversight of the public works facilities that provide essential services to our community, including water reclamation and the landfill. She led the city's efforts to review and revise the city's general conditions for public improvement contracts, which will ensure that all future public improvement projects are completed in a manner that will protect the public and their property, as well as protect taxpayer dollars. Her leadership and influence is extended to the entire city of Sioux Falls and interaction with the public. Now, we kind of took Diane away from another government entity called the state of South Dakota, and they were mad at us. But we were blessed because Diane joined our team. She is the author of the State Statutes on Public Records and Open Meetings Council. Diane has played a key role in advising city governments on how to remain committed to honest and open government. She's a trusted mentor to the other members of the city's legal team. Again, could go on, but I know you haven't been here forever, but while you've been here, we've certainly been blessed to have you. Thanks for making a difference. Thanks for making your sacrifice as well, Harlan. We appreciate it. Again, the winner of the Full-Camp Management Excellence Award is Diane Best. Diane? And our final winner tonight is of the Full-Camp Management Excellence Award. Very, very proud to introduce all of you to Jeremy Williams, who's a building maintenance supervisor for the City of Sioux Falls. Jeremy, please come forward. And let's give him a round of applause while he comes up. Jeremy, would you introduce your family, please?
You bet. I've got my daughter Molly here, my daughter Grace that's fresh off of a basketball game, Grace, and my beautiful wife Brooke. Brooke, welcome and thank you so much. I love it. And thanks for celebrating with your dad tonight. We appreciate it. Folks, when I first started with city government, one of the things that we talked about were making things more efficient, more productive, getting a bigger bang for the taxpayer dollar, looking at ways that we could change things up and really change that status quo. Well, one of the things I think you should realize is that we used to have every single department kind of do their own thing when it came to things like building maintenance and cleaning up the areas, ordering supplies, all those things. 12 different groups doing it all in their own different way. Well, what we did, thanks to the leadership of people like Jeremy and so many others, we consolidated into one efficient, productive, service-oriented, taxpayer-friendly way. And because of that, you're being recognized and so much more. He is a respected leader with exceptional customer service, teamwork, and is a high performer. He gets things done. Jeremy helps to drive change, build commitment, and lead successful projects. His division looks to him for guidance because of his consistent vision and integrity. He always meets and exceeds expectation. He never disappoints. And we do occasionally make mistakes every now and then. We do, in city government. Yep, we do. And his team may do that same thing. He'll be right back in the ring trying to improve upon what we've done and make things right. He accepts responsibility. He's passionate about his work. He's exemplary about follow-through, not only for him, but for his team. And he's fun. The man is fun. And every now and then, it's good to have some fun in your work. And thank you for driving what you're doing, making things fun, getting things done. And he has a positive attitude that's just as contagious as you can imagine. On behalf of the City of Sioux Falls, again, folks, 1,300 plus in city employees. We've recognized 5 of them. There's so many more that we could acknowledge tonight, but these are the 5 that competed and ultimately won. We had the highest number of applications ever in the City of Sioux Falls for these awards. Every single department was recognized in some way. I want to thank the folks that nominated them. I want to thank the leaders that wanted to recognize them. And on behalf of the City of Sioux Falls, Jeremy Williams, you are a Full-Camp Management Excellence Award winner. Congratulations.
Everybody, one final round of applause. Excellent. Thank you. Councilors, thank you for giving me that honor. I mean, the council's cheering these folks on as much as anybody, so truly thank you for letting me have the honor to recognize these folks tonight. Councilors, our consent agenda, any motions, changes to that?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second.
Councilor Erickson's made that motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there's no questions or comments, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Our regular agenda tonight, any changes to that, Council?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second. Star.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve our agenda for tonight's meeting, seconded by Councilor Starr. If there are no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Council, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Folks, again, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Certainly pleased to have you here. This is an opportunity for you to engage our council on really any topic that you want. All we'd ask is that you just come forward, introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls by just stating your name. And if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that. Would anybody be interested in engaging the council? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Lynette Buckmiller. The main reason we are here is to stop the 5829-2016 rezone from RD1 residential to C2 commercial for the construction of additional storage units, which are and look like pole buildings in our neighborhood. I talked to a realtor and he stated it would be a 5 to 10% hit on our property value. We would lose potential buyers with pole buildings that close. The petitioner is using the bare minimum of shaped places. If you approve the rezone, we feel the maximum 8-foot privacy fence should be required. Twin homes are still the best divide between residential and commercial. I have seen the drainage area the petitioner discussed in the southeast corner. It is hard to envision melting snow piles in the northwest corner draining that direction. We feel some of the rain and snow runoff will continue flowing from the south to the north to our property. The massive amount of landfill to the north prohibits the natural flow of the water to the wetlands. I discussed this with Kenny Anderson about the removal of this landfill, but the fill remains. I do have some pictures. This just shows how much landfill actually was put in a parcel of land that contains wetlands. The land was never reclaimed and mitigation never occurred or never happened. The city removed numerous trees and dug a huge trench to help the drainage issues in the wildflower addition. Jesse and I do not want to cause rift in our neighborhood. We care about our neighborhood. We care about our home. It's the pride, joy, and greatest accomplishment. But our dream home has turned into a nightmare. 7 houses were to be built to the north of our home, which would have been a wonderful addition to our neighborhood. Instead, we ended up with landfill to the north and landlocked when the developer walked away from the project. The city's resolution is a permanent easement to the south. This is another loss of value to our property. City Hall said that we would get platted street frontage when the land to the north is developed. This is what we are hoping and planning for, but we're unsure. We never planned on driving to the south, but so far we have been left with no other choice. We urge you to consider these issues. How many hits does one family have to suffer? Why don't they expand their business to the south, in the commercial area? Storage units belong in industrial areas, not residential. No fault of our own, we have become the bad neighbor. A storage unit got denied on South Cliff in Lincoln County. We hope you care as much about our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buckmiller. Thank you.
I do have letters for the 4 new council members, if you would like to give that to them.
Very good.
Have enough time to make additional copies.
No,
so.
that's fine. Thank you. Thanks for your testimony. We appreciate it. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome. Please. No, please come forward, sir.
I got pictures. I just want to show what it looks like down there. I don't know if you've been down there.
And sir, could you just introduce yourself, please?
Jesse Buckmiller.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.
I live at 200 LaSalle there. This picture here is right out of my driveway looking south to the storage units that you see as they are right now. And the units, what they want to do is they want to bring the units closer to us. And she stated a pole barn look to them. That they do have a pole barn look to them. And I got pictures of other units that are in town. I scrambled today to try to find pictures because I didn't think I was going to be here tonight. Next picture. This is a picture of my neighbor's driveway. He's a little bit closer. As you see, they're getting closer. Next picture. That's up at the corner of where we turn. That's Grant Street. That's going east and west, crossways there. And that's how close those units are. And you take notice how small the little trees are there. I got a picture here. When we get to it, I'll show you the difference of what it was when we first moved there. See the trees there now? That's a barrier. That's a medium between industrial and residential. That's a buffer zone. But now, as you see back to the other picture, they have systematically sold most of them big trees, mature trees. This is what they have now. Now they want to bring the storage units even closer. You can go to the next picture. I'm just showing you what it looks like there. This is basically out of my neighbor's 4900 East Grant Street. That's out of basically his living room window. I'm standing under, basically looking across the street. And they still want to bring them closer yet. And he's adamantly against these units too. But he spends this time of year down in Arizona, so he's not here to stand up. But he's sent a letter to the planning board, but they just didn't listen to it. And this is a picture from the east looking west of the storage units. All the evergreens you see there are the evergreens that are there right now. Now they want to bring all those buildings that are on the left all the way over to the right there. That's our houses on the right there. So they're getting close. The shaped places, we don't even think we should even be talking about this. Shaped places should be protecting us from even talking about this. There should be, this is a no-brainer to us, but we're showing you pictures. This is a storage unit that I found way on the west side of town. Lock it up storage it is. I think you might know it. It's out there on the Ellis Road. Take to the next picture. That's a picture of the garages there. And that's another picture. There's probably, I didn't count them, maybe 40, 50 units in there. Next picture. And there's twin homes right there, buffering to the residential area. This is what exactly should be happening for us. This is a prime example. And then back to the storage unit, back to the picture. The difference between those units and the ones we're looking at, as you see, they got an asphalt roof to them, kind of looking like a neighborhood. They're not the metal roof, not the metal building, which is the pole building look is what my wife's talking about. This is all I could find today. I didn't have much time to look around. But that's one example. But there was only one example given at that planning meeting of what they did by letting storage units right next to a residential. They came up with one example on the West 12th Street. They had one example. I got one example. This is a fence they call their barrier right now. It's a used fence that came from somewhere. Apparently, if you lift it up a foot, it makes it a 5-foot fence. It's a 4-foot fence. They lifted it up high and they made it a 4-foot fence. And we're under the understanding, and I could be wrong about this because we never got no direct, specific plans of what they're doing. We were told they're going to move this fence farther back. That's not a buffer barrier. We think that at least there should be somebody should be looking at what they're considering a fence in this whole project. And this is the road that goes down, coming down there from the back side of the units. That's coming to the turn, that's looking west. or east. That's looking east. I'm just showing these pictures. All we're talking about is the rezoning. We're not talking about the issue to the north here. That's a whole other issue. This whole thing is a property value to us. We took a tremendous hit on what's happened to us 10 years ago. It's still ongoing. It's unresolved. I think Michelle knows about it. I think you know about it. That's a nightmare for everyone. We all know that's a nightmare, but this is just another hit. It's going to be another hit that we're going to just have to sit and soak in, and we think this city should stand up for us. I mean, we're talking 3 houses down there, but it's a neighborhood. I mean, we're houses. We're residential. I guess that's all I got to say. I'm just showing you the pictures.
Mr. Buckmiller, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Can I ask, who are you working with, sir, in planning and zoning?
As far as what do you mean?
Who are you engaging in planning and zoning on this topic? Anybody?
We talked with planning. We don't really have.
I'll follow up. That's Jason. Thank you. I'll follow up.
More than I do.
No, that's great. Mr. Beckman, you did very well. Thank you.
We pretty much in the dark and everything. We never get answers for nothing, so we're just.
Sounds like Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Folks, did anybody else want to engage? Welcome, Mark.
Good evening, Council. How are you doing this evening? Good. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Mark Blackburn, and I'm one of the founders and president of the newly formed nonprofit organization called Establishing Sustainable Connections. And just quickly, what we do is we try to initiate, support, and retain community relationships, giving people platforms of empowerment so we can make our city as better as ever. And so just kind of wanted to bring everyone to attention that is we have a great documentary that's going to be shown on December 18th, kind of a matinee Sunday at 2:30 to 4:30. And we're going to show this documentary called 13th by Ava Duvall. And I have the flyer. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ava Duvall, she's a great activist and did some different things, and just talks about a little bit of the prison system and how the mass incarceration of people, how it birthed into our nation. So just want to quick introduce that. It's free and open to the public. If you're not doing it's not on Sunday, 2:30, come on down. Free popcorn, some snacks at Augustana University at Kresge Hall. December 18th at 2:30. So that's all I have, and just want to invite everybody.
Mark, thank you. Thanks for letting us know about it. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Good evening, Scott Erisman, Sioux Falls. I was watching the press conference yesterday about the Mayor Heather not going to sign the smoking ban, and it kind of reminded me of what the powers of the council are compared to what the powers of the mayor are. Now, when it comes to smoking and the health effects of smoking, I think it's personal to all of us. Today I decided I would start counting how many relatives I had within my immediate family that either have health issues or have died from smoking. I stopped counting at 12. I think there's probably anybody in this room, I don't think there's probably anybody in this room that couldn't raise their hand and known someone who either died or had a health effect from smoking. So I want people to know that it's personal to all of us. But that's not why I'm up here to talk about it. I'm here to talk about the powers of the council and the powers of the mayor's office when it comes to our city charter, and that's what I put up here. It says in section 2.1, general powers and duties of the city council. All powers of the city council shall be vested in the city council except otherwise provided by the law of this charter. And the council shall provide for exercise therefore and for the performance of all duties and obligations imposed on the city by law. The council shall act as a part-time policy-making legislative body avoiding management and administrative issues, because management and administrative issues are the mayor's job. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Basically what it's saying is the council is responsible for legislation. similar to a smoking ban. But as we all know from watching the news, and the smoking ban came from your administration and from your directors. It did not come from the legislative body, their job. In fact, they weren't even asked to kick in their opinion on what it was to be. In section 3.01, executive power, the mayor, the executive and administrative power of the city shall be vested in the mayor. The mayor's job is to run the city. He's in charge of the employees, the directors, and he's even in charge of, it says here, let's just read it. And he can weigh in on your legislative duties. The mayor shall at the beginning of each calendar year and may at other times give the council information as to affairs of the city and recommend measures considered necessary and desirable, like the budget. The mayor shall preside at meetings of the council, represent the city in intergovernmental relationships, appoint with the advice and consent of the council members of the citizenry advisory boards and commissions, present an annual state of the city message, and perform other duties specified by the council, etc., etc. In other words, the council is very similar to the state legislature, and the mayor is very similar to the governor. State legislature puts together legislation. The governor has the power to veto it if he wants to. The governor can also put stuff forward too. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you, over the past 7 years, I've seen almost all this kind of legislation originate in your office. And that's not how it should be. I think that it's fine if the mayor wants to work with the council and originate things together. I think that would be fantastic. But for the mayor, who's the executive branch of the government, to be pushing stuff forward without your guys' consent and throwing it in your laps is unfair. Because as I have said, what do we need a city council for if the mayor's going to present all the legislation? We don't need you, really. Of course, in section 2.12, it says all the things we need the city council for, including legislation. So I would hope going forward, in a little over a year left in your administration, you at least fill these people in on what you plan to do for legislation, or better yet, let them come up with legislation. I think with something as important as a smoking ban, which I thought was important, that they should have been let in a little bit on it. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council?
Bruce Danielson. Today there was a Public Services Committee meeting, and I found it very interesting that once again Darren Ketchum didn't show up. Thought he was the Director of Community Development, but gosh, just never see him. Kind of wondering what's happened to him. He was brought in about a year ago as the great savior of community development and ready to take charge and ready to get going, and he just never shows up to anything. Kind of wondering if he's doing a bunch of on-the-job training or where he's been hiding at. And it's definitely showing a lack of respect towards the citizens, and especially you people up here on the city council. I think all the directors need to show up at these meetings when something like this big event is happening, and they should be here to be able to answer questions. And I was really disappointed, so thank you. By the way, Brent O'Neill did a great job today.
Welcome, sir.
Matt Metzger's. I was here the other night to discuss my property being a possible forced city annexation, and I want to talk about the article that was in the paper yesterday. I'm going to focus on one paragraph, and I'll read it here quick. Albert Schmidt, an urban planner with the city, said Metzger's property for years has enjoyed the benefits of living in the city, snow removal, sidewalks, and other basic infrastructure without being subject to the city property taxes or other expenses that come with being part of the city. I want to focus on, he said, my property has for years enjoyed these benefits. Now, again, some of the council members have driven out my property. I'm on the very southeast part of Sioux Falls. On the south side of me, on the east side of me, and on the west side of me, there is no development. I understand it's been annexed into the city, but there's no infrastructure. The research I've done in the since we've met, it hasn't been platted. None of that work's been done. Ronning owns the land around me on the east and the south. What I've been hearing is it could be 3 or 4 years before the sewer goes in there, which means there'll be no development for the next 3 or 4 years. So I guess I'm kind of confused on how I've been enjoying the benefits of snow removal, sidewalks, and other infrastructure. My sidewalk went in this fall, when it was completed. The road was put in this summer, probably completed in August. Up until that point, I lived on a gravel road. So how I've been enjoying the benefits of living in the city, I don't understand, because Lincoln County has been removing my snow for me. So whatever benefits I'm supposedly receiving, I'm not sure what they are. The other night at the council meeting too, Councilor Gregg asked Albert some of the benefits I was receiving. And Albert said I'm receiving city water. Well, I just want to go on record and state why I am on city water. 3 or 4 years, when I built my house 15 years ago, I was on Lincoln County rural water. 3 or 4 years ago, Lincoln County came to me and asked me to switch over to city water. They met with myself and 5 other homeowners on Sycamore Avenue, and they had to replace a pipe on that street, and it didn't make sense for them to run that pipe down this street for 6 homes. So they asked me to switch over to city water. I said, sure. What's it going to cost me? And they said, nothing. We're going to take care of your cost. Great. They said the only thing that's going to be a negative impact on you is that your rate's going to be higher than what I'm used to paying now with Lincoln County rural water. I agreed to that because it was the right thing to do. I wasn't going to be the guy that makes them put in this pipe so I can save $5 or $10 a month on my water. I'm not going to do that. That's the reason I'm on city water. I don't want it's being portrayed that I'm this guy receiving all these benefits when in fact that's not the case. So I just want to go on record and state those facts.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Oops. Greetings. It may be winter outside, but if you look at my shirt, it's nice and toasty here. Back to the tropics. I read the newspaper and listen to the radio once in a while, and there's been some to-do about this woman or this girl from Georgia who had a liaison with a local doctor. I was curious. So I looked into some laws, and the variation between adult and a minor is kind of all over the place. And you can see some of these numbers here that I found. And the age of sexual consent in South Dakota is 16. But you better really be careful about that, because if you get this number wrong, you go to jail. So I also did some research into other laws, and this one here is quite the piece of entertainment. It's, we need laws, but we need laws that are written better than this one. Read the second chapter, second bullet there. Sexual exploitation of a minor. If you allow your minor to engage in any activity with nudity involved, you are exploiting that child sexually. So how do you give anybody a bath? I mean, this is the law. I'm not making this up. I wouldn't make up anything so bizarre. Similarly, teenage sex at 17 is legal, but according to this law, if you do it naked, you're exploiting that minor, even if you are that minor. And, you know, some laws are pretty crazy. Also, in the same law, kids should not be allowed to play. Again, I don't make this stuff up. It's too crazy. If you allow your minor to engage in a stimulation of an activity that is harmful to minors, that is, again, sexual exploitation. So what kids don't play like football or acting and banging into each other? That's all illegal sexual exploitation. Obviously, this law needs rewritten. And teenage sexting is rather popular these days. Take a fun picture of yourself and send it off to your friend. Turns out that this is child pornography. Popular activity, nasty consequences. Still in the same law, if your minor friend fibs a little bit and tells you that they're 16 instead of 15, and two, you get along together, you better watch out, because that person's dishonesty can get you in jail. In this particular court case, we have a rather sexist stereotype at work. It's a big bad guy wolf and the cute little girl. That the stereotype is a little more obvious a little later on. In romance, hey, you've got some money, you've got some intimacy. Prostitution, thoroughly illegal, but when it's illegal, it goes underground and gets more dangerous. Human trafficking, that's also illegal. Oh, and the sugar daddy idea, and it's a very important concept in this case. Having fun with an older person and some gifts to go along with it. Now, what actually happened is two people met on the sugar daddy website with obvious repercussions, and they had a good time for a little while. Things were good for a bit, but then she was worried about him and called the police. Both parties went to jail. Not exactly what you want to happen when you call the police. Check out this rack of charges against the older man who had a seemingly legal relationship with a young woman. Quite a rack of charges. It's really quite amazing. And if you read the law, none of this appears to be justified. And in court cases, I've noticed sensationalized prostitution. That seems to be the primary driver for this problem. And double jeopardy, how many times over is that here? And we've got a rather large prison population, partially as a consequence. Now, I would like to bring my little observations to the awareness of the court, but I don't know if that's possible or even how to do it, because if I write a letter to the DA, he's going to blow me off like he's done before. And withholding evidence from defense is supposedly illegal, but how do I supersede the bias built into our government? And since I'm out of time, I would like to give you a picture of our beautiful town and say, good evening, everybody.
Did anybody else want to speak to the council?
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but when we have African Americans coming up here and saying that African Americans are always in this prison system, I'm proud to be an African American half. Like I said before, in these subdivisions that we're facing in these motels and hotels, black on black crime is happening every day of the week. They're killing their own selves. Besides the police doing it, the police is not killing African Americans. They're dying in the hands of their own race. When you come from Chicago and Florida and everywhere else and growing up in the projects and you're doing gang and you're pimping and you're prostitution and everything, and you come to a better life here, you have to grow up. You can't be doing it like you do in bigger cities than Sioux Falls. It is happening here. So when you do that and law enforcement is on it and takes you to jail, they want to say, oh, I'm going to jail because I'm black. Do you know that the prison system here, we have more white people, Native Americans than black people here in South Dakota going to jail, going to prison? So the African Americans that are overpopulated and always going to prison, this is what I tell the African Americans on the street. Stop being ghetto, get a job, stop marrying the white people or the Native American people, and instead of impregnating them and sending them to the food stamp line and using the system, How many African American black men do I know here that is going to provide for their family and get a job and do what's right in the city here? It is a disgrace, the African American community. I'm the number one to admit it. I see it on the streets every day. But the police target behavior, when they keep seeing certain people into the judicial system 5 and 10 and 15 times in 1 year, what you think they're going to do? They're going to throw the book at you. I totally disagree that only the African Americans are overpopulating the system here. Yes, we do have racism here. I'm not going to lie about that. But the type of racism here, we can handle better than racisms in Louisiana, Florida, and Georgia, where they have signs, and I'm not going to say the word, that says, "And don't let the sun go down on you." And there are sundown laws there. So therefore, black people cannot go down there when those are in those areas because they're going to get dragged and beat by cars by other people. So to being black in Sioux Falls and taking that kind of racism here that we get every day, I could take it any day of the week compared to other cities and other states. So the African Americans need to get educated, get a job, and change their lives here because it's not looking good in the community. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else who wanted to engage the council? Item number 4.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving a Mid-American Energy Company gas easement.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item is the first reading. It involves the rail yard redevelopment land. There are currently Mid-American active lines on this land. It will formalize the easement, just like we do with normal platting of land throughout the city. When BNSF owned this land, they would grant permits to utility companies like Mid-American Energy, and then they would file them in their own corporate structure. Now that it's the city's land, we want to formalize these and then record them so they can transfer with the land. And so this is the first reading. Diane Best has worked diligently with our land surveyors to make sure that the plats of land are accurate, and we would ask for your support.
Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. Councilors, the first reading. Did anybody have any comments or motions?
Move to set the date of hearing for December 20.
Second,
December
Selberg. Thank you, Councilor Erickson, and thank you, Councilor Selberg. Appreciate that. They do want to set that date of hearing for December 20th. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Has passed 8-0. Item 5, please.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 39, Personnel Regulations and Benefits, Retirement and Pensions.
Hi, Tracy.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As you folks know, there's been a considerable amount of communications over the last few weeks on this particular topic. We had a good discussion in November. We were back last week with the full team and had a fairly in-depth presentation, followed by what I thought was a really good question and answer session. A lot of good questions that were answered. In addition, there have been multiple written communications to you folks, as you know, as well as city employees that may someday be eligible to retire on the city's retirement system. Also communications with those folks who have in the past retired. In addition, last week, the city staff did provide opportunities for retirees, current retirees, to come in and meet face-to-face and ask their questions and have these proposed changes to the current ordinance explained to them. So with all that communication, I wasn't intending to spend a lot of time rehashing a lot of the information with you tonight. There are some, I think, important objectives that should be clear to everyone by now, but I do want to just briefly recap those. First and foremost, maybe touch on two things that this ordinance will not do. It will not make changes to the retiree health care benefits. In addition, it will not make changes to employee pension benefits. So that's been a key point to reassure those folks that are either currently working for the city or have been retired from the city, that nothing is changing in terms of benefits. With that said, the objectives of the ordinance that's on first reading tonight, first of all, is to fully fund a 115 trust to pay remaining retiree health benefits, to move excess assets currently held in retiree health benefit 401H accounts in our two retirement system plans to the defined benefit accounts within those pension plans. So in other words, keeping those assets within the trust. In addition, the proposed ordinance changes would make the language within the ordinance related to the accounting and financial reporting consistent with current modern reporting requirements for pension plans. And lastly, make the language in the ordinance consistent with the current Internal Revenue Code. And just once again, no changes to benefits for retirees or pension benefits for employees. Just a couple of points to make in terms of the benefits of adopting this change. One, it will certainly strengthen the pension trusts that we have. As I mentioned, it will keep the assets in the trust, and that will certainly have the effect of protecting those assets from being diverted to other uses in the future. In other words, prevent the rating of the city's pension plan for other potential uses. In addition, it will protect the city from spikes in contributions that might occur in the future, or might otherwise occur in the future that would be due to investment performance. And that, we've mentioned that a few times, but I think it bears repeating. It really was that volatility in city contributions and spikes that we were seeing and high levels of employer contributions that really drove the 2013 pension reforms, and those steps were taken then to get a handle on escalating city contributions. And so these will help, again, to follow through on that goal of stabilizing the city's contributions. As I mentioned, it'll bring the accounting and reporting up to date, as well as the language relative to the Internal Revenue Code. So with that, I will ask the council to set second reading and date of hearing for December 20th.
Tracy, thank you. Appreciate that. Councilors, any questions or comments?
Move to set the
Councilor,
date. Oh,
I'm so sorry, Councilor Starr.
Director Turbeck, is there any advantage to doing this on December 20th versus doing it in January? Is there a year-end benefit that we're trying to get in front of?
Well, my understanding is that if it is done this year, we will not have to ask for any sort of an extension or additional review from the Internal Revenue Service. That's been part of the extensive amount of time that's taken to get us to this point. Is all of these changes had to be submitted to the Internal Revenue Service for review. So we're running against the clock a little bit. As the ordinance indicates, the old accounts would close on December 31st. The new trust would be established on January 1st. So I guess in a nutshell, yes, I think it is important to follow through and put these in place yet this year.
Thank you.
Councilor Seeley.
And I'm going to be the unpopular one here, but I've been having conversations around town about this whole situation, and someone brought this up in a conversation that we're all facing rising premium costs for our health insurance. So once this money is moved from the health insurance aspect fund over to the pension fund, we can't put it back into the health insurance fund. Is that correct? Is that correct? It doesn't go back that way.
There would no longer be a health account within the pension fund itself. There'd be a separate trust.
So what would happen if somehow these premiums would skyrocket and we wouldn't have enough money to fund that?
Well, we certainly do anticipate that costs will escalate in the future, and that is something the actuary, when the actuary will determine how much money needs to go into this trust to pay those future premiums, they do assume that healthcare costs will escalate at a rate of 9% a year initially. So that is taken into account. We're not assuming that costs are never going to increase. At the end of the day, if in a number of years there aren't sufficient assets to pay the premiums, the city's share of the premiums. Within that account, it would be the city's responsibility to make up any shortfall.
Well, and I know that we're hearing that some premiums are going up 17% for individuals. So that we don't really know those numbers for sure. But the other thing we talked last week, and I said, what would happen if we waited and did this 2 years from now? And you said you don't want to kick the can down the road. So my take on that is that this is not imperative that this happens right now. We're not in any peril that we would have to be moving things around.
You know, someone asked me a question similar to that the other day. You know, why should this be done now? Why should we do this? And the more I thought about it, the only plausible reason not to do this is that you have designs on utilizing that money for some other purpose, Counselor, and that's the only plausible reason not to do this. And that's exactly what we're trying to prevent is this council or any other future council and mayor from raiding the pension fund for other purposes. And if you have a problem with that, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree on that particular point.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to set date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, December 20th, 2016.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Chair Rolfing's made a motion to set the date of hearing for the 20th of December, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there's no other discussion on that point, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thanks, Council. Item 6, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the management and operation of Sioux Falls Transit.
Sam, welcome.
Thank you. Sam Trebilcock, City of Sioux Falls Planning. At Council Informational this afternoon, I went through a presentation. I pulled up that same presentation if anybody has any questions since that this afternoon. I'm going to quickly go through aspects of that. Again, this item is consideration of a resolution to allow the mayor to sign a transit management contract. It's a 5-year contract from 2017 through 2021 with the possibility of 2 years extension going through 2023. Currently, our transit management contract is with First Transit. That contract ends December 31. The RFP that we had with we provided an RFP out onto the street in the spring of this year to gain proposals to look at the transit management contract. Proposals were reviewed and interviewed by a team. That team included planning, attorney, finance, public transit advisory board member, and then also Councilor Kiley. First Transit was selected after reading the proposals by the team and in interviews done by the team. The contract or the proposals were, First Transit was selected based upon the committee's review of that proposal and those interviews, and we felt that they were by far the strongest of the two candidates, including because we really felt that they brought forward some ideas for value-added aspects to the transit system. They could bring forward some expertise from different properties that they serve around the country, and then also some of the experience that they've already brought has been valuable to us. With that, I'm going to just move to the management fee. As part of the contract, there's a management fee. This past year, it was $167,000. You can see up above on the screen here the management contract for the contract period. What that includes is compensation, including benefits for the general manager, and I should mention Eric Meyerson, the general manager, is in attendance tonight. Certainly can answer any of your questions. Expenses for recruitment of a new general manager should a vacancy occur, that's included. All costs associated with professional development, costs associated with assistance for senior management, and technical staff assistance, as I mentioned earlier this afternoon. That's something we want to make sure that we bring in the senior management at least quarterly, and that's something we'll take advantage of. And we included that in this contract. Labor negotiations assistance is included in this contract, attorney assistance, uses of their purchasing agreements, which is really pretty large to us for expertise, and then there is a professional fee included in that. So again, what I would be asking for your consideration is for that resolution for the mayor to sign into this contract. With that, I would take any questions.
Sam, thank you very much for being here, and Eric, thank you for being here as well. Appreciate it. Folks, before I go to the council, did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. Councilors, any questions or comments for Sam or Eric?
I would move approval. Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Chair Rolfing's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no discussion or questions, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson? Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item number 7, please.
A resolution establishing the City of Sioux Falls legislative priorities for the 2017 state legislative session.
Good evening. Jim David, Operations Manager for the City Council. Each year, the City Council develops its legislative priorities prior to the start of the legislative session. The process begins in midsummer and includes conversations with area legislators and other South Dakota cities and towns through the South Dakota Municipal League. For your consideration tonight is a resolution that will adopt your priorities for the 2017 legislative session. Once approved, this resolution will be forwarded to each legislator and the Municipal League, which has an active lobbyist throughout the entire session. The first priority is a broad statement defending a city or town's ability to address local needs at a local level. The second item supports flexibility when it comes to posting legal notices, such as using the internet or free publications. The third priority is a defensive statement opposing any legislation that would jeopardize tax revenue sources for municipalities across South Dakota. The fourth priority supports legislative efforts to improve the inventory of affordable or workforce housing in South Dakota. Item 5 supports a gross receipts tax on alcoholic beverages, similar to a municipality's entertainment tax, but levied only against the alcoholic beverages. The sixth item is a broad statement supporting collaborative activities between counties and municipalities. As you all know, the City of Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County already enjoy several collaborative ventures, including the museums, multicultural center, law enforcement, Metro Communications, Joint Jurisdiction, Homeless Advisory Board, and many others. Item 7 supports greater local control and flexibility for counties when it comes to budgeting. If a county has more money in one fund, they have the ability or the flexibility to move to the fund that may have a gap. Priority 8 was added this year and supports either repealing or extending the 911 surcharge. The legislature had approved a surcharge increase in 2012 from 75 cents to $1.25. This was the first increase since 1989. The legislature did add a sunset provision to reduce the surcharge by a quarter in 2018. Metro Communication estimates that this will create a reduction of about $200,000 annually in 2018. This does conclude the proposed resolution. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Jim, I appreciate it. Good job. Folks, did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Scott Harris from Sioux Falls. Number 8 is further proof that there's no such thing as a sunset clause. I said this all along. We had a sunset clause on the entertainment tax for the pavilion, never went away. We're still paying entertainment tax because we got to keep fixing the building. And now we got with 9/11 charges, sunset clause, they're asking it to be taken away. So the next time anybody ever tries to claim that there's a sunset clause, do what I usually do, laugh in their face. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Erickson.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Erickson.
I just have a motion,
Thank you.
an amendment to add the following statement, numbered number 9. The City of Sioux Falls strongly supports a reliable statewide emergency radio system that allows users across the state to communicate within and outside of their agencies in order to sustain this capability and enhance operations locally. Statewide, amongst other states with federal agencies, the City Council supports state funding initiatives to upgrade the statewide system to the national standard for public safety communications utilized by both federal state governments known as Project 25, P25.
Second, Neisert.
Councilor Erickson's been a motion to amend this resolution, seconded by Councilor Neisert. Any discussion, Councilor Erickson?
I think I've discussed this particular item several times over the last probably 2 or 3 meetings and hope that you'll support adding this because even though we are a large city, this is still very important to us.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Staley?
I have a question for Jim.
Jim?
I was going to ask this before Mr. Erisman got up here, but talking about that the sunset clause, how often have, in your knowledge in the past, when that's...
Councilor Staley, I apologize. Could you start with we're focused on the amendment first.
Okay, and then I get to say
yes,
something.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If that's, thank
I'll
you.
wait.
Appreciate it.
I just, if I might, Mr. Mayor, just want to support the amendment. I just think it's
Councilor
valuable
Bach?
in terms of in terms of the state radio system. And now have more connection with local government across the state, and am very aware of the need of this. And I would just ask my colleagues to do support this. And then when Municipal League calls us and needs our support in the legislature, that we step up and say yes, help in the way that we can.
Councilor Bach, thank you. Folks, we're going to vote on the amendment that was made by Councilor Erickson, seconded by Councilor Neisert. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Councilor Singh, we now have an amended resolution. Councilor Staley.
Okay, so just for the public's knowledge about the sunset issue, when you have something that's connected to that, how often have we actually, in your history in the state, in the city, how often have we implemented that sunset clause?
You mean when it comes to various taxes
That's
on the
right.
state level? I don't have any knowledge of that or any history on when that has been put
So
in
it
place.
could be that never happens?
Well, one thing you have to remember is a legislative body cannot bind the hands of future legislative bodies. So what they agreed to at this time, unless it's in the Constitution, could be overridden by future legislative bodies. And I think most of the time, councils and legislatures do take that into account when they make certain deals. So yeah, but I have no specific information on what's happened in the past.
Councilor, thank you. I will now vote on the amended motion. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer.
No.
That has passed 7-1. Thank you. Any new business, councilors? Very good. Could I just get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Councilor Selberg, thank you. Councilor Erpenbach, thank you for seconding that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls. Make it a great, great night.